Along with Oktoberfest, Bayern Munich and Lederhosen, BMW is the most iconic brand you will find here in Munich. And so I've come along to visit the museum, chart the history of BMW and visit the Welt to see where the brand is today. So I got here about 40 minutes ago. I've just been sitting hypnotized watching. There are over 600 tiny little aluminium balls. They've each got their own meter and they're working up and down in this extraordinary dance, building up shapes of different vehicles over the years from BMW. And you just watch it browse. It's so calming and soothing. And I think I might put in another 40 minutes. We know BMW for making cars and motorbikes, but initially they made aircraft engines, and in 1919 they set what was then a world record of an engine taking a plane up to nearly 10,000 meters. To the disappointment of the pilot, the engine could have gone even higher, but he happened to faint at the altitude and luckily got down safely. With the end of World War I and the Treaty of Versailles, German companies couldn't be involved in the aviation sector anymore, and so BMW moved over to motorbikes, which preceded the introduction of cars, and this was one of the early ones. It still looks magnificent. Yes, it's polished and nice and clean, but it just looks like a really strong piece of engineering. And what was quite important, this was the first time that a bike was built around the engine. Rather than just lobbing an engine onto the back of a bicycle, this was a proper motorbike. It's got the great engine, it just looks really good, and most importantly, it's even got a shower. If you're a petrol head, this is goosebump stuff. 1928, BMW weren't making cars. They bought Eisenach company in the east of Germany. 1929, this was the very first BMW. It was made under license to Austin, but they took the Austin and basically just improved it. And this is the result, a bright red piece of engineering brilliance and the start of the BMW automotive journey. That's the M6 up above, the shell, that's a combination of aluminium and carbon fiber. Wherever the cars are, as every year has unfolded, the technology has improved, making those cars lighter, making them quicker, making them safer, the combination working pretty well. This was one of the first M6s, that's the early 80s. This here looks rather nondescript, doesn't it? This was actually the first M5. Loads of stories about how it was developed as possibly a discreet bodyguard's car or a compromise on a future M6. Whatever, it kick-started a great generation of cars. Here you've got one of the M3s, real cult car in South Africa, and then a bit of M-Power. This is another slightly lighter version of the M3 and the M on the Z4 as well. Now that letter M on so many of the cars, they just represents that raw power that's inherent to BMW. One of the best resale values of any classic BMW. You can imagine an open-shirted Sean Connery driving through the Med in the 1960s in one of these. It just looks so elegant. It did then and it still does today. But although that timelessness is in place, it doesn't mean BMW stands still. And what you've got here is a different world entirely. This was the precursor to what we now know as the i8. Hard to believe this came out 11 years ago. It looks like a proper spaceship. It's transported now into the i8. This is where it started. And it does show that while the history and the heritage of BMW is always in place, they never stop looking for new cool things to do. Behind me is the BMW Welt in Munich. It's the HQ of BMW, the spiritual home of the iconic German brand, and inside, a wonderful celebration of everything BMW. This particular building is situated on what was Munich's very first airfield. Right now, it's a combination of a giant showroom, a gallery, a celebration of BMW. You can actually come and pick up a brand new car here. If you've bought one, you get it presented to you, they show you how everything works, and off you drive in your new car. Well, this is the entrance to the Welt. As you walk in, you're immediately dazzled by the range of cars, all of the new models. I've got my eye on the new 7 Series in particular, be driven around in style. It's not just the BMWs though, there are the Minis here as well. M-Town has got all those powerful vehicles. There's a shop if you want to go and pick up some merchandise. Well, this is the captain's chair in the 7 Series. I reckon I could get used to traveling like this. touches down in South Africa later this year. It is the M8 competition. I think this is probably going to be the biggest launch of this year for BMW. The power on this is immense. If they don't limit it, you've got 321 kilometers an hour. It's an absolute beast, but gee, it's a good looking one. The aesthetics are perfect. This color scheme in particular is really eye-catching. Couple that with the performance of this, and it's not hard to see why this is one of 2020's most anticipated cars.